Howdy everybody. I'm out here walking the fence line. I have to do this on a fairly regular basis because we're in the dry season now and we get a lot of wind, and that means that branches get blown around, and so I have to make sure that we don't have too much stuff that's touching the fence because it's an electric fence and that can ground everything out. Now let's check this one. Nope. 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 Things are dying out now, and a lot of leaves will drop. We'll go from mostly green to brown, and then around February we'll start to see the flowers come out, and that's a very enjoyable time of the year because we have a lot of tropical trees here and they all produce spectacular flowers. As a matter of fact, that puts in mind the national flower of Nicaragua is called the sacuanjoche, or the red frangipani is another name for it. And it's a beautiful flower. It's a tree flower. The sheep are following me as I'm walking here looking at the integrity of the fence. So we like to cut the grass that's leaning over. One or two pieces of grass isn't going to make a big difference, but if you have a whole bunch of them, it can really wreak havoc with the electricity in the fence. So after windstorms, I like to come out here and make sure that we don't have branches on top of the fence or anything like that. In addition to there being an official national flower of Nicaragua, there's a joke among the regular people in the street that the national flower of Nicaragua is the plastic bag. And that's because, like many places around the world, we have a plastic pollution problem here, particularly plastic bags. And they're all over the place. And it's sad to see it, but it's part of the reality in which we live. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. So the national flower colloquially is known as the plastic bag. And that brings to mind an article I was just reading yesterday about a bizarre new type of rock that has been found in multiple locations across the earth. It's a combination of rock and plastic that we humans have irresponsibly discarded that has fused together to form what are now being called Plastistones. And there seems to be quite a controversy over what to call them. Some like Plastistone, other people like the name Plastiglomerate, others plastic crust, but it seems to me as though the real controversy is not over what we should name them, but the controversy is the fact that they exist in the first place. And what are we going to do about it? So, discoveries of these plastistones have now been reported in 11 countries and across 5 continents, ranging from Hawaii to India to Peru. And there is no doubt that more locations will be reported in the future. As a matter of fact, I've been checking some of the stones here on the farm to see if we might have some here. Here's a candidate. No. Here's another one. No. No plastic in this rock. Okay, well that's good. There are a few theories about how they formed. The most prominent among them is through heat, campfires, burning trash, and wildfires create a situation in which the plastic melts and then is able to bond with mineral elements in the rock, and you wind up with a plastistone. Now there's other theories. One is oil leaks. Plastic is derived from oil. I'm trying to walk over some rocks. None of them are plastistones. I don't have a real one that I can show to you. I'm sure we probably have some here in Nicaragua, but nobody has found them or at least reported them yet. The one that I think is probably the most plausible, other than the fire theory, is that the sun itself can cause the plastic to degrade and in that process can combine with other minerals in the soil and conglomerate together, and you wind up forming a plastistone. But at least from my point of view, how they have formed is not as interesting as what are we going to do about it. Kind of like noticing that there's some poop in the corner of the room and going over and studying the poop and wondering how it got there and completely ignoring the elephant in the room that made the poop. And that's kind of the way that I see it. We're not really focused on the problem at hand, and that's that we have an enormous plastic pollution problem. According to recent figures, human beings introduce on average of 35 million metric tons of waste plastic into the environment every year. Obviously, that's unacceptable. And yet we just keep doing it. We act like there's nothing that we can do about it. You know, recently, this COP23 that's supposed to be addressing the issues of climate change, they couldn't even agree to a statement about phasing out fossil fuels. So now we have the emergence of plastistones, rocks that are formed as an amalgam of plastic with rock. And by the way, those plastistones shed microplastics and nanoplastics into the environment as well. So it's kind of an intermediate form in which the plastic has been incorporated into a rock, and then over time it's going to shed the plastic. Well, it shed some of the rock too, but those are minerals that are good for the earth. The plastic is not. This is an enormous problem. And the other thing that's of major concern to me as a farmer is that the plastistones have been found to affect the composition of microorganisms in the soil around them. I've talked about this in other videos. There's an entire ecosystem in the soil of fungi, various microorganisms, bacteria, and macroorganisms like worms and other bugs. And they all work together in a balanced system. And the plastistones, when they're present, change the composition of the microorganisms in the ecosystem, which is a hugely bad thing. So there's certain microorganisms, beneficial ones, that either decrease or disappear entirely. And then there's others that kind of like being around the plastistones, and they increase. And so we don't know how that's going to affect farming and food production. You know, we keep putting 35 million metric tons of waste plastic into the environment. Guess what? We're going to get more plastistones forming. We're going to get a lot more forming. This is a very bad thing, and I hope that people understand that the title of this video is not clickbait. It's real. We have an enormous problem. And it isn't just plastistones. You know, it's plastic pollution. And then when you go up even higher, it's the environment itself. We're destroying the environment. We simply seem to be incapable of having an intelligent and productive conversation about these things. And our leaders, what can you say? Those bozos that were out there at the COP23 conference. No, I'm sorry. We are in a drastic situation that needs to be addressed. And hopefully saner minds will prevail, but we'll have to wait and see. So I'm going to end the video there. Sorry to end it on such a negative note, but sometimes you need to hear the truth, and if the truth gives a negative reaction, then maybe that's not such a bad thing if it brings people to actually act. So with that, I'll sign off. Thanks a lot for watching.